Hi there, I am Adem Kirbas from Turkey, Urdu. This is another episode of my podcast. We are here still in the pandemic. I hope you all are doing fine and that we will eventually get get this over with. Today I wanna talk about millennials. I had announced it that I uh, that I mm, mm, think that we have to talk about it in a couple of episodes. I will try to talk about those important things which I think somehow are important to understand the backdrop of how millennials grow up so that it may be even clear for everyone that we live in a new area and that from this point of view we have to some sort of change our understanding, of course. I mean, I thought about how to start this episode. What is important? I mean, I want to start with my school years. I went in Austria to school. I went into a business school, and so I think this business school gives you a good glimpse into what really changed in a way. And this is especially those business schools or in the business schools I went to in Austria. One imminent thing was how to present yourself. I mean, this was in a way, this is of course generally in business schools. You have to be aware of one thing, and this is with the asset you have as a businessman is not your, or partially is your skills, but mainly the assets you have as a businessman is your reputation, is your appeal, is how you are being perceived by other people. This is important. This is what in former years one would have called some sort of handshake quality. These are people who are being trusted. These are people who are being predicted. I mean, there is one would say a very dubious quote of Gordon Gekko in this movie: "Wall Street greed is good." I mean, this is partially true. I mean, of course, everyone wants to earn money. Nevertheless, if your opponent thinks about money as well, then this makes him predictable. Everyone wants to earn money, and someone who wants to earn money is, you would say, a very pragmatic person, someone with whom you can talk to. This is not someone who would then go and destroy in a frenzy the company or whatsoever, like it happened partially in history or so. The second thing is, of course, this my view is some sort of confined to Austria. I will talk about my political affiliations in a later episode. I mean, this is, I do not say these things because I'm mad about some things, or I don't know, or I'm trying to be very objective as I can. And of course, do not forget that I am, or that I consider myself in firstly as a philosopher and then as an author. For me, philosophy is very important, and I always try to portray many perspectives. However, now we were talking about job applications, and job applications in the business school where I went through. This was mainly, like I said, about how to present yourself, what is important, what do people understand or want from you. I mean, of course, these things they go beyond than just how to dress yourself. I mean, of course, dress code is important, but dress code alone is not the key issue. You make course in job applications, but it is rather, this is very important, in the millennial age, in general, some sort of a superficial character traits. I will talk about this in detail. Um, and this is, how you are some sort of obsessed with yourself. We talked about it in the past episode, that this ego fetish, that you are some sort of centralized on yourself and how to present yourself on social media. This is as well as in job applications anymore, despite the fact that everyone said, yeah, can you work in a group? Yeah, of course, like I said, no one really can, no one will say no. I mean, like in dating apps, if you apply for a dating app, this is very interesting. You should do it. Very, and you will find hardly people who tell the truth, or they do well, but you have always some sort of a different perception of yourself. But however, one of the key understanding of the millennial social backdrop is indeed that this is the center of egoism, that how you are being perceived is important, and of course this of course leads to a fixation of yourself, as well as an beauty fixation, or how you're being perceived in on social media. And of course, this leads to a lot of ambiguities. There are a lot contradictions along the way. This is especially in social media. And one of these contradictions you can find some sort of in social, in political support, political appropriation, social acceptability. I called it social acceptability. People somehow, in a way, demand from you a certain behavior. I will talk about this shortly, what this connects to. But in social support, of course, one knows one thing, that leftism is always portrayed as as being care or caring for the weak. Leftism has a very positive connotation in social media, a very positive perception. So it is way harder to some sort of present yourself as conservative if you only ask a PR agent. Nevertheless, in the US, I've watched some profiles which can successfully present themselves in as conservatives. This would of they present themselves in a way that they would have principles, morals, and so on. Of course, it can you cannot do away with resentment against others, but nevertheless, the leftist agenda is always being perceived as caring for others, as well as being good. People think in these terms between in good and evil. This has become, the more the political system is polarized, the center is some sort of eroded and abraded, the more people think in these terms, and everyone who is not on my side or is oppose me is bad. This we will talk about this later. But and however, you can see this in a way how leftist ideas in in social media are being propagated, and this is rather, you would say, a contradiction, because on social media this self presentation of your, or this self exhibition of yourself is rather shallow. But yet, if you align yourself with a political affiliation, namely the left, this is being considered as emotional depth, that you have emotional depth, that you care for other people, and as well as that it gets easier support in a way. I mean, this is something you always see with celebrities. I mean, when they try to promote a product or whatsoever, or in general try to gain appeal on social media, they always go with a leftist agenda, because leftism is always been considered as good, as more appealing, and as well as emotionally having emotional depth, because social media, this is, especially if you scroll through Instagram, you have to be aware of that one selfie pretty much looks as the other. Those those photos partially, they do not even look authentic anymore with beauty cameras and so on. However, that those persons who exhibit themselves become in a way interchangeable, and in a way to again regain your perceived uniqueness, your difference from all others. People strive to be different. People strive to somehow present themselves different, again to nourish their ego, nourish this craving for self centrism. And this is, I mean, this is always happening, and one can always see when celebrities go on a rant on social media, they mostly try to promote something. This is some sort of a PR campaign. So I have seen some of these issues. I mean, this is something you can easily detect when you follow some celebrities on Twitter or Instagram or whatsoever before. If they want to promote a new movie, if they want to promote a new product, they'll mostly go always on a rant. This is more or less nothing else than a PR campaign, and this is some sort of that these celebrities, that they are, you see them all, they are all mad, they're all angry. So people are angry about anything, angry about evil. I mean, we will talk about this later, but what is important though is that this some sort of a leads to having emotional compassion. I mean, if you consider the others as very evil, as diametrically opposed to you, and no matter what, these other people, they don't care about the weak, they don't care about the poor, and whatever it is. I mean, this happens vice versa. Then of course it is easier for you to present yourself in a way, having emotional depth, having compassion for those so called weaks. I mean, this is some sort of dubious, because I have seen some of those presentations of self promotions of leftists as well as other conservatives. I mean, this has nothing to do with the leftists, but the way they present themselves, I had this feeling. And if you watch some, I mean, this can be everything, music videos, this can support for whatever, they somehow address things or make an issue about a thing which is actually not an issue. They just make an issue about it. I mean, this can be beauty. I watched, I mean, I will not go into detail. I don't want to name anything, but I watched or saw some issue where the teeth structure of someone was put under scrutiny, and somehow this would be hated by people whatsoever. I mean, of course, it can be true, but this is some sort of over exaggeration. The same is with this obsession of obesity and so on. But of course,